Hey everyone, Matron here bringing you another StarCraft 2 commentary, this time a special game from Liquid Jinro's replay pack. He'll be playing as the OGS top account, spawning as the Red Terran here, and his opponent in Korean labeled as MKP on the replay, so that is Marine King Prime, or Fake Boxer, Foxer, the Marine Micromaster of the GSL season so far. So we have two players that have done very well in Korea in the top tournament action in the early going of StarCraft 2 here, and it is going to be a TVT. See, Liquid Jinro, known for his macro-oriented and reactionary style as a Terran player, often playing kind of like a Zerg player would, getting up a lot of bases, and very ingenious play from him at some points in time. Quite creative with his drop play, with his different reactions to his opponent's builds. Also does some proxy play sometimes. And then Marine King, or I think he settled on a name finally, Marine King Prime, just the Marine Micromaster. He is able to use Marines highly effectively. They are very good DPS, and they're very cheap as well. And the one thing that they're not good against, Banelings and the sort of counters that people have for Marines, Marine King has taken the time to learn Marine Micro such that he can counter Banelings, he can counter the Zerglings and the Mutas as well. And he is just so very good with those Marines, highly effective with those cheap high DPS units. I've not seen much of either of these players TVT, so I'll be interested to see whether they go for the same old Marine tank Banshee Viking play, or whether they try to do something a little bit different. As we see the barracks going down for both players, we do see Jinro sending out an early scout here, so he is going to find his opponent at the first scouting location, going to see that barracks finishing, and now he has only a certain amount of time in the base before the first Marine comes out. He sees that the refinery is a little bit late, as he did get his own refinery up and running a little bit earlier, but he does see the two supply depots here, and that's a little bit early for a second supply depot from Foxer, but I think he wants to keep pumping Marines and SCVs at this point, wants to give himself a little bit of wiggle room. So getting up a late refinery here, as Jinro getting up a little bit earlier, so we may see higher tech from him. Just right now, both players producing the SCVs and the Marines. So we see Jinro adding that second supply depot a little more on time, so you have 18 of 19, now 19 of 19, and perfect timing from him. Actually a little bit supply block, but not too long on that Marine, but he was able to get up that gas earlier, not throwing down a second gas, so definitely teching up. And we see a factory going down, so I wonder whether he will be going for siege tanks, or maybe just using that factory to get up some sort of early play, or early airplay, as we see Foxer getting up a fast command center off this one Rex. So very interesting, produces 3 Marines, gets a reactor on this barracks, and does have the refinery up and running at this point, but not throwing down any more factories or higher tech, as we see another 2 racks coming. So we'll be going for a Marine play, or barracks play here, as we see a tech lab being prepared for this factory. So Jinro may be going for some early tanks, so he may try some sort of drop or early siege against his opponent. Actually, no, he's going to be going for Blue Flame, so getting out Hellions, and this is going to be a very good counter against Marine King, as he does favor those Marines, the light units. So once that Blue Flame does finish, he's going to be able to really take on the Marines and also the SCVs as well, as we see a starport going down, completing that 1-1-1 build. And not a lot of units for Jinro at this point. Wants to try to catch any sort of scouts with the Hellion and those Marines before they can get in here, sending in the SCV once again to scout. He had control of that tower. He's going to be able to see this orbital command going down, so he's going to know that soon he will be behind economically, and we might see some sort of timing push once that Blue Flame does push out to really try to curtail the economy of Foxer. If we check the income tab, it is 23 harvesters to 23, but Foxer will have that second mule, so he's going to be able to be ahead in the mineral count. So we see it looks like Jinro not going for a fast expand, just spreading these Hellions out, and he's going to deny the scout of Marine King. And that's very important that Marine King did not see the Blue Flame on that Hellion, and did not see the number of Hellions. Jinro has quite a few at this point, so Marine King does not know whether he's actually going for the Blue Flame Hellions and some sort of drop play, which it looks like he may, as the starport is producing a medevac here. And now we see the Marauder coming out, and we'll see the blue flame, and going to try to do a little bit of damage against these Hellions. Again, the Hellions light, so not taking that bonus damage from the Marauder, but kiting back here now in range of these units as well on the high ground. And Jinro losing one of those Hellions, a little bit not very careful with the Hellions in the early going, as now that they have the blue flame, they're very, very important players in this game. And it looks like he's going to try a drop, and Marine King does know that this is coming. Good gamer sense on his part. So we're going to try to move into position. He feels like the drop's going to come from the south, but it's coming from the side. Going to try to focus down the Hellions. Does not want these Marines to line up and be perfect shots for those blue flame Hellions. And Jinro just roasting all those Marines, dropping once again, and it looks like taking down the one Hellion. So Jinro losing 2 Hellions early on, which he did not really need to lose, but streaming more and more Hellions out, 2 at a time now, as he has landed the factory on the reactor and getting out a Banshee as well, working on Cloak. So we may see a lot of harassment coming from Jinro in the next few moments. Almost treating this TVT like it's a TVZ, where you really need to harass your opponent's mineral line and their workers to try to deny the economy. So we see Foxer getting out just basic Marines, a few Marauders as well, to take on any sort of tanks that do attempt to come in here. And now we see a Banshee coming in from the north, as well as a dropship from the south. So the Banshee moving in, going to try to take on these SCVs, and Marines moving into position. So Foxer reacting, but in the south, these Hellions coming in, going to be able to do a lot of damage against the SCVs here. So one Hellion with 7 kills, one with 4. This one guy really needs to get in the action. And now looks like he was able to take down that Banshee in the northern, in the natural there, but a lot of damage done by those Hellions. If we check the income tab, it is 32 to 32 still. So how long has this this natural been up and running? And still just down to the now 34 harvesters. So a lot of damage done to the economy of his Terran opponent. Jinro doing a good job at the moment. Still just a few Marines at the top of the ramp. Wonder really when he's going to start pumping army. Looks like he has landed that barracks on the reactor. So pumping out Marines here to try to take on the growing number of units of Marine King. It looks like the Hellions making an appearance once again in the mineral line. Same time as a cloaked Banshee coming into the natural, as well as a scan goes off and that Banshee does go down. So a few more SCVs being taken by Jinro as prisoners there. And now Foxer has most of his SCVs on this oversaturated natural. Really needs to split them up. And now pushing out, maybe tired of the harassment, and going to be pushing his way into the main of Jinro. As we see him catching these Hellions midfield, stimming up, trying to catch them. As these 3 Hellions going to try to get away. And another drop coming in, but Marines streaming down here to defend against it. Another Banshee coming up, a good reaction by Foxer to pull these SCVs off of the mineral line, and at this point just has to try to defend against this harassment. At some point you think he has to push out against his opponent and really force Jinro to defend, make some units, as Jinro dropping in here doing a ton of damage and picking up right away as the Hellions were picked up there by those Marines. The Banshee does go down once again. Now it looks like medevacs being loaded up by Foxer. If we check the army tab, it is 2100 to 1700. Jinro does have a good position in the siege here, but the drops are going to prevent the siege tanks from doing a lot of damage, as we see Foxer just stimming up and ripping apart this army. A siege tank trying to retreat to the back here. SCV is being pulled off by Jinro, and now the Marines going to try to clean this up with help from the siege tanks. More SCVs being pulled off, and Jinro feeling the pressure there from his opponent. Looks like he's got that the one medevac with a Hellion in the back of the mineral line of Foxer still. So Foxer just trying to rally troops to the center, 1350 to 1250. But Jinro does have these tanks. It does have the cloaked Banshees as well. So going to be very tough cookie or to crack here, or nut to crack, as he does have this high positioning. But we do see that Foxer has these medevacs going to be able to drop on top of these tanks, but he's going to have to save some scans for the Banshees. Once they cloak, they can be very tough taking down those Marines quite quickly. Marines not in very good position. They're not going to be able to take down any of these medevacs before they're able to drop their entire load on top of the Banshees, or on top of the siege tanks. More SCVs being pulled off, trying to repair up the siege tank as it is focused down by Foxer. He is able to take it down. Those Marauders able to take down the armored siege tanks very easily. Another Banshee in the back minerals of the natural of Foxer. So just going to town on those workers. See this Banshee making its way in here to take on the SCVs and the mules. The mules looks like they are actually going to time out before the Banshee can get to them. And now these Hellions going to be picked up by the medevac as well. So Jinro working on a two-pronged harass and trying to defend his main. He does have the two racks, has an orbital command as well, as we see Foxer pushing in here once again, going to try to focus down that factory, stop those siege tanks from coming out, and we see the factory being lifted off, going to try to save it, pulling off a number of SCVs, repairing up that factory, and the Cloak Banshee, again, very tough on defense if you do not have any scans saved, but running out of energy, and now going to be trying to focus down by Foxer, taking on the Marines as well, as Jinro pulling out here with the remaining Marines, going to try to take down the forces of Foxer, but these medevacs are very strong in these small unit encounters, and Jinro just doing his best to defend here. He's got to keep these production structures alive, and in the natural of Foxer, all those SCVs being taken down by that Banshee. Jinro pulling off SCVs, going to try to squeeze out another Banshee or two, as Foxer going to try to drop right on top of the siege tank, but does not have a lot of Marines and Marauders left. The one tank, the one Banshee, and the one Marine here for Jinro going to fend off. And it looks like more Marines streaming in here with Stim. And again, this is a lot of medevacs to try to heal up these Marines. Again, you can only heal one Marine at a time per medevac. And now we see a scan. I guess he's trying to catch the Banshees. So now we see oversaturated at his main. He does have a orbital command, and he could possibly land here, but feeling the pressure from his opponent at this point. And Foxer preparing another attack. Again, 1050 to 900. Do you see the Banshee in the back of the minerals here? 21 kills. Finally, maybe done as this Viking moves in here. And now we see a looks like another drop coming in here for Marine King, but it looks like the SCV is being pulled off, and a GG from Foxer. Wow, so that harassment by Jinro with both the Blue Flame Hellions and the Banshees. At the very end, Foxer down to no SCVs, having to almost go all in, choosing to make Marines and offensive units instead of trying to get his economy up and running again. And Jinro playing this like a TVZ, like I mentioned before, getting out the harassing units, those Cloaked Banshees, the Blue Flame Hellions, very powerful against the early Marines of Foxer, and then able to take down his economy and really choke his mineral count back there. So Foxer pushing out eventually, feeling when you are harassed, you have to fight back, pushing into the main of Jinro, and Jinro somehow is able to defend very small numbers of units, a siege tank here, a Cloaked Banshee there, a handful of Marines, and Foxer was just not able to penetrate the base, not able to take down too many production structures. Jinro doing a good job saving both the starport and the factory, producing off both constantly in the late game here, and one basing against a very strong Foxer Marine King Prime opponent. So a TBT mirror match here. Sometimes they can be boring, but when you have two top players like this in Jinro and Marine King Prime, it can be very interesting. So thanks for watching this one. Take care.